How's it going, everybody? My name's Yena. I'm having a great day, and I hope you're having a great day too. Well, it's time for another Horus Heresy video. This time I wanted to talk a little bit about how, at least in my opinion, you should be building your army. Number one, I covered this in the first video on this, and I'll cover it again. You should be building towards a thematic list, not necessarily the most powerful, most winning list. As we move into 3rd edition, with things like melt-guns looking like they might be the cream of the crop, so to speak, we have to remember that just because we can't spam the most busted, undercosted for what it does units in the game, well, as can supports, Contempt Dreadnoughts, doesn't mean we should. Again, the spirit of Heresy is more akin to like a Commander in Magic as opposed to like a Modern, where you aren't just trying to be the best, most winning thing. You're trying to do something to have fun. And with that in mind, we should be looking towards a more balanced army. Something that actually looks good on the tabletop, and units that you have a lot of fun fielding. For example, one of the best thematic ones I find, if you're a fan of the War Crime Boys, the Nemesis chapter of the Ultramarines, basically a destroyer squad specialist chapter Gilliman created because he felt, while useful, destroyers ultimately dishonorable. Because of this, they were really good friends with Night Lords. And that's the kind of thing you need to be aiming for when you are building a list. Something fun and thematic that you want to assemble the models for, that you want to convert the models for, that you want to paint the models for, that sort of thing. Again, mine is either based on Loyalist at Istvan 3 for my Sons of Horus, or Traitors around the Siege of Chthoniya, ones who are all in with the Chaos Corruption. Those are the kind of things you ought to be looking at. Now, I do believe this edition we're going to have a lot more options as far as what's going to be viable. Let me give, for example, last edition, you roll a 6 on the vehicle damage chart with high enough AP, vehicle auto explodes. That sucks when your nice Kratos that you painted up just gets pinned and blows up. Very rare on that tank. Kratos, however you pronounce it. A very hardy tank, but it still could suffer an explodes result from heavy support portable weapon. So, a little bit of a feel is bad. It looks like with the new damage table for this edition, we're not going to be having that. We're just going to be having the effects of, like, they'll be firing snapshots, they will have reduced movement or stunned, that sort of thing, and I believe a lot of vehicles are going to have a way to heal that. So, that's going to open up a lot of options for like an armored spearhead. There's also, of course, there's going to be, of course, the classic drop pod assault, one of everyone's favorites, with the new shiny drop pod models. I know those are for 40k. I'm going to be using them in Heresy because I've heard the original drop pods are some of the worst building experiences you can ever have, and I, frankly, would rather not. I enjoy building and painting models. I don't want to take on something that will be unfun. My 2 cents on that. Anywho, you should, again, always be running the models that appeal to you. You know, make sure that your local gaming group is okay with them. You know, you don't want to just be bringing in a bunch of like Chaos Marines without any conversion work. Most folks aren't going to really gel with that. Some people will be okay with it. And with the new Emperor's Children range, I do argue for a Siege of Terra Emperor's Children force that does kind of work, since they are more subdued than, let's say, the Plague Marines for Death Guard or something like that. I think the key is to build up a force that you're going to want to put on the tabletop. My hope is that they will see the error of their ways and actually release Zone Mortalis. Basically represents fighting in the close confines of like hive cities or starships, that sort of thing in the Heresy. And I'd like them to be able to do that because those, as opposed to, it's looking like at least 3k, if not 3.5k for list in 3.0. I'm hoping they're going to have Zone Mortalis and have that be around the 1,000 to 1.5k mark. I think that would be just a lot easier. That way you can get something painted up to a nice standard, get a small force on the tabletop, have a little bit of fun. Start small, start with like few infantry squads, a dreadnought, probably a contemptor. I don't know that I don't know that I'd be trying a Daredeo or something like that. I guess you do you. If you could figure out how to field a Saturnine in Zone Mortalis and it's not the most obnoxious thing ever, have at. That being said, I like the idea of starting with a small force and kind of growing it. A little bit like the Crusade, if you're familiar with that, in 40k. I think that is an excellent idea. Also, of course, starting out, I think like the best ones are going to be your box sets, depending on your faction, of course. We'll look at Marines here. I'm going to say that even though you can still find these, I don't believe Games Workshop actually is going to be selling this much longer, but you have the 2.0 starter set. Again, does suck that rules book is going to be outdated, but still a good starting source. Get a good amount of plastic, Mark 6 Marines, Cataphractii, Contemptor, and a Spartan, which will hopefully be a lot more efficient this time around. We've also got the Legionnaires Astartes battle group, which is another great source. Get a Daredeo, a Land Raider, and a bunch of Mark III tacticals with some special weapon sprues thrown in. And, of course, the best place to start, the Saturnine box set, getting those gorgeous Saturnine Terminators, that Dreadnought, the Praetor, Centurion, as well as a bunch of Mark II tacticals, and that turret. Doesn't really suit it for me, but you might enjoy it. If you do, it's there. I don't know. I'll figure out something to do with it myself. When it comes to kit bashing, so long as it is in the spirit of Heresy, not too chaos corrupted for the Traitor Legions, I do like the idea of raiding your bit boxes. If you all will remember, and what piqued my interest as far as Horus Heresy and the like went, the Games Workshop used to have basically these articles. They would have little rules things for like kit bash units. We have like the Iron Havocs for Iron Warriors, Sun Killers for Emperor's Children, Reaver Chieftains squads, my favorite, the Boarding Shield Artificer Armor Elites for Sons of Horus, that sort of thing. And there were a lot of them. Fulmentaris for Ultramarines comes to mind. And they were really fun. Being able to kit bash these is super duper cool. One of my favorite things about kit bashing is just, it's so encouraged in the Heresy. Like, there are a lot of ways, especially with Games Workshop doing like their weapons box sets, essentially, like their weapon sprues. It really encourages it. And I would keep an eye out on your bits box. I always clip stuff out of my old sprues and keep, or if it's like a Sergeant sprue, like for any of the Heresy Marine kits, I generally keep those around because you can get a lot of neat stuff to make your own special custom consoles, which is super duper fun. Especially because it looks like Centurions and the like are going to be pretty key for list building this time around. But that is something we will get into more next time. So please let me know down below, what are you looking at buying for this new edition? What sort of army are you going to be paying up? What's going to be your Legion? Are you going to go with Astartes at all? Or are you going to go like Solar Ox or Mechanum? Please let me know. And thank you so very much for watching. Have a great one.